FixForce optic mount for primary arms 1x, 3x, and 5x prism optics. Howdy y'all and welcome back. So I'd never heard of this thing, never seen it before, and it was sent to me by LGO homie Ilya. Thank you very much, brother. And just got all the bits and pieces in this morning. He sent the optics and all of it for me. So I'm going to put it together and we're going to find out what it's all about. Let's go check it out. All right, so this came in a painfully nondescript plain white box with no instructions whatsoever, but here is the unit itself, and it does come with a couple of screws and these little slugs that will go in to these holes to act as lugs. And then we're mounting it up with the SLX 5X, which I have never messed with before, so that'll be new for me. And the Holosun SCS 320GR, and if we bring it in close there, 2 MOA dot, and you got what, a 32 MOA donut of death type reticle. I tend to favor just the dot, but we will see in this application. I might maybe prefer using the circle. We will see. All right, so since YouTube is weird about showing things being assembled, I'm going to do this off camera, and then I'll get right back at you. All right, I'm not showing anything actually being assembled or disassembled here, but it's worth pointing out the optic will come mounted to its base with these guys. It comes with the longer screws in the packaging, and these are what you're going to want to use to assemble it to the new mount. And here's those longer screws mounted through the base, through the mount, into the optic itself, and torqued to spec at, it says between 25 and 30 inch-pounds. I went 27, split the difference. If you don't have a torque wrench that works in inch-pounds, just work it till it's snug. It's going to seem fairly snug, but always be careful not to over-tighten. And this was cute. So here on the left, we have the Holosun factory screws, and on the right, the screw that came with the optic mount. And because this head shape is different, you can see how that taper is different. So this wouldn't seat down far enough through the optic to reach and screw into the mount. And this, the thread is actually too thick. You can kind of see even right there that the Holosun thread is thicker and would not penetrate into the holes. But I happen to have a trusty bag of rando optic mounting screws left over from years of jacking with these things, and I was able to find exactly the ones. Well, they're not exact, but they're working. So they were long enough and thin enough. I would like for them to seat down in there a little better, but they're close to flush. I don't want to over tighten these. So if they end up a little wiggly, I'd rather tighten them down later than stripping anything out now. Holosun does not provide any torque specs for the optic itself, and because the mount has no instructions whatsoever, I don't know what they are recommending for torque specs. So I'm erring on the side of caution, and we will see what happens when we get to the range. All right, and I jumped away real quick right there because my OCD kicked in, and I noticed that this whole optic was shifted a millimeter or two off to the left. That may not seem like much, but once you start reaching out to 50 or 100 yards, the amount of adjusting you'll have to do because this optic is mounted crooked will make you kind of crazy. So right now I've got it at the 32, the donut of death with the center dot, which probably won't want to. Let's see if I can get that. If I can Jedi mind trick that into focusing. Yeah, it's just not going to want to do that. No, it's not going to want to do that. But anyway, here you go. There's your form factor all mounted up. And this is an enclosed reticle. Pretty interesting. The SCS here has no battery. It has an internal rechargeable battery, but there's no battery door. I was trying to figure out how to make sure it had batteries in it, and I had to go to the instructions because it doesn't have a battery. It has one button. So if you hold that down, it'll change the reticle. Hold it down again, it'll turn it off. So that's pretty dummy proof right there. Like I say, I'm not super crazy about these mounting screws, but I don't know what else to do. And at least I had them, which lets me move forward. And I don't know, you know how this thing goes. It feels like it's mounted pretty solid, but when we start putting it under recoil, things jiggle, right? So, we will see. And, you know, I hadn't even tried the... Okay, there we go. So we do have battery in the 5X. So I think from here, the next step is going to be mounting it up onto that guy right there. And we will start playing with where I need to mount this to get good eye relief on the prism. Typically, prisms are going to want to be back a little more towards the rear of the Picatinny. So let me just play around with that a little bit, and we'll mess with the diopter a little bit, and we'll check back in a sec. All right, I apologize if you can hear the lawnmowers in the background, but I'm going to try to just work through it here. So, to the question of where to mount this guy on the rail, it's pretty much, there's one answer, and that is the very last slot. So, the 5X, not only does it have a fairly short eye relief, but the eye box itself is pretty tight, meaning, you know, movement around this way. So I could maybe ooch it like a tiny little bit, but not really. To get, in fact, I almost need to bring the stock in a little bit, or I have to kind of really hunker down, at least while standing. I have to really hunker down and get my neck kind of forward onto it. I'm really used to shooting with a chin weld, or a jaw weld, because I run kind of tall EOTechs. So using the dot up top for a CQB type situation, that comes pretty natural to me and is very comfortable. Like I said, getting in on the 5X requires a little bit of head skosh. We'll take it back up top and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, before I forget, total weight, 12.4 ounces. Total cost, by my math, $880. So it is lighter than a 4-power ACOG, at least from the resources I checked, and certainly a whole lot less expensive than just the ACOG, never mind your dot. You could probably get a sort of similar setup by running a very inexpensive, just regular red dot up front, flip to side mount for the 5X, right? Then you get into your issues of you've got a thing hanging off the side. So I think for form factor, this beats that. And I'm not mad at flip to side setups at all, but I just think that this is more compact and more streamlined, and it's less of a snag hazard and stuff. 12.4 ounces, like, you got to spend some serious coin to get an LPVO in a 1:6 that's at that weight. So very, very nice numbers. I like it a lot. Eye box and eye relief, right? Prism Optics, they run tight. So coming in at a natural kind of heads up elevated. Again, jaw weld, which I'm used to using, running an EOTech that's elevated. Really, really feels solid. Snapping in on the hollow sun up top, very, very natural. The 5X, I can see the reticle and sort of see through it from here. If I was taking aim at something really close, or 50 yards maybe, but really you're going to want to be just almost nose to charging handle for the scope shadow to go away and for the reticle to be usable at all. Which, while standing, that does present a bit of a challenge. Doable, but man, you're really turtled down over it. But from the prone, which I did get my old ass down into the prone to check this out, feels great. Like everything just lines up super natural, really easy for me to get up, nose to charging handle, and just boom. And the reticle is nice, it's clear. You've got the diopter to really adjust it to your eye. Felt really cool. You have to kind of pop up a little bit if you need to use this guy, but I think the point of shooting prone is you're generally going to be right at distance of some sort. So I think if you approach it from that concept, that if you're running CQB, home defense, whatever, you're just going to use the top dot. The 5X is for shooting things that are far away. That shouldn't be complicated, right? And preferably, if you're going to be shooting things far away, get down on the ground. You're more stable. It just makes sense. So, no setup is going to be without its cons, right? You've got pros and cons to all of them. But I think what is impressive about this setup, this mount feels extremely durable and sturdy. Prism optics are known for being rugged. I think your weak point in this setup is going to be whatever you're running up top, just because it's, if it takes a fall, right, that's probably likely to get hit. And I think that's going to be, the weak link in the chain. You've got two little screws holding it all together, but still, I think it is a very, very cool setup, and I am really looking forward to getting this out to the range. Hopefully I'll get to do some runny, shooty type stuff. I may be relegated to the FUD range because I am going to try to get it back to its owner as soon as possible. But yeah, you could do worse. So looking forward to checking it out. I hope you all have a wonderful Merry Christmas and shit. Have a safe New Year's. Get a designated driver if you need to. All that stuff, right? And until next time, be easy, y'all.